Hey crew, it's Pitt. I'm back with some more Esoterica / ancient lore because this fits into both boxes. We are continuing our study of the Cloud Upon the Sanctuary. What was the guy's name again? Carl Eckhart Hausen. I have a hard time with that name for some reason. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everybody, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. But before we begin, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box down below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I stand where I do. Once again, today will probably be the Unconventional Bible Study as a point of interest and the Infinite Integrations playlist, where we discuss in both of those things that are probably going to come to light in this particular study. I was a little bit surprised by the direction that this has been going so far. I was expecting Hermetic language, and that is not what we have been getting. But we are going to continue in and pick up at letter 3. Let's go. The absolute truth lying in the center of mystery is like the sun. It blinds ordinary sight, and man sees only the shadow. The eagle alone can gaze at the dazzling light. Likewise, only the prepared soul can bear its luster. Nevertheless, the great something, which is the inmost of the holy mysteries, has never been hidden from the piercing gaze of him who can bear the light. That is true, and if you would like a better elucidation of that, I recommend that you check out the Secret of the Golden Flower, which is in this playlist. God and nature have no mysteries for their children. They are caused by the weakness of our nature, unable to support light because it is not yet organized to bear the chaste light of unveiled truth. Yes, there are mysteries. Both God and nature still have mysteries for their children. That doesn't mean that you can't discern them, but that doesn't mean that they aren't there. Even if you are at an enlightened state, there are still things to discover. No matter how far along you are on the path, until you are all the way home, you are still on the path. There are still things to discover, right? I get that this is more of an allegory for discovering true knowledge, but that doesn't change the fact that the statement's a little bit weak. This weakness is the cloud that covers the sanctuary. This is the curtain which veils the Holy of Holies. And I do not completely disagree with that, although what I describe as the Holy of Holies is absolutely different than what Judaism does. But in order that man may recover the veiled light, strength, and dignity, divinity bends to the weakness of its creatures and writes the truth that is interior and eternal mystery on the outside of things, so that man can transport himself through this to their spirit. I don't know about the terminology there either. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not going to try and raise a point of contention yet. These letters are the ceremonies or the rituals of religion, which lead man to the interior life of union with God. Mystic hieroglyphs are these letters also. They are sketches and designs holding interior and holy truth. Both, yes and no. This is something that is common, right? Yes, there are ceremonies that lead you to the internal, but most of them aren't. Right? Not that they can't, but they aren't. Right? The rites of the Holy Mass of the Catholic Church is not leading anyone to an interior truth, not to an interior life of union with God, not in any way, shape, or form. Many of the other control systems are not doing the same thing either. You go through by rote the things which have been passed down. That is not leading anyone to any further enlightenment. There can be elucidation that can happen upon the ceremonies and the rituals, which can bring about a greater understanding of some underlying truths. But wholesale taking in everything that is not what is happening. That is not in the slightest bit what is happening. We are not reaching people in the way in which we were meant to reach people. And I firmly believe, and I know this steps on toes, and so Here's where one of those points where you're either going to click away or you're going to continue. I believe that the control systems are all designed to hold you away from God, to give you the semblance of holiness, of redemption, without requiring you to actually make the changes. That is, to me, a fundamental error in all of the control systems. I say this with love, right? I am not trying to say that you cannot ever find the way. It is absolutely possible to find the way. It is just exceedingly difficult if you are looking through the veil and not even attempting to remove the veil, right? If you're going by rote through ceremonies and rituals, you are not actually accomplishing anything, right? It is the internal investment of your energy that makes the difference. If you are not personally investing into it, it does no good. You can do the rituals and it will never change anything. That appears to be the problem with Masons, right? We will go through more, so I am not saying that this is the end all be all of that particular organization. But we went through Manly Hall's study, and Manly Hall was definitely a Mason, right? He went through several of the other orders, right? Not just the Blue Lodge, but he was a Templar, not a Templar, a Shriner at a minimum. I'm pretty sure he was a Shriner. But he held the degrees of a couple of the other ones, I am pretty sure. I may be getting him mixed up with somebody else. That happens. But we went through his study, the secret teachings of all ages. And that was an extensive study. And as we went through that, it was revealed that he did not believe in the ceremonies. He did not believe in the actual investment of the energy behind the ceremonies. That doesn't mean that he didn't, right? That means that he did not express that in that particular writing. There may be another writing where he does express that he holds the actual beliefs and imbues the energy into the rituals. But according to that book, he doesn't. According to that book, none of them do. They all are doing these rituals without the full understanding of what they are and without investing the energy in the proper way to ensure that the proper outcome comes from it. That is a problem. Blindly following ritual and ceremony will lead you directly away from God. It will attempt to coerce you into believing that you have achieved something that you haven't quite yet. That is not to say that you cannot find the truth inside of the control system. It is just exceedingly difficult. Religion and mysteries go hand in hand to lead our brethren to truth. They should. Both have for object the reversing and renewing of our natures. Both have the end, the rebuilding of a temple inhabited by wisdom and love, or God with man. Kind of. Yeah, right. Mysteries more than religion, right? Now, this is again me differing greatly from the normal, right? I hold the Trinity, but it is not the Trinity of the Catholic Church. It is not the Trinity of the Baptist Church. It is the Trinity of creation. You are inhabiting a temple. This is the temple of God. You can find the scriptures to back that up, but it is something that has been known throughout the ages by various peoples. You have the temple of God available, but you are not the temple of God. You are the individualized spark of divinity, the soul, that resides on the interior, and you make the decisions for what the temple is going to do, right? You're going to decide where the meat suit goes. But you don't even make that happen. You have the meat suit, and you have the soul, but the final piece is the Holy Spirit. It is the all-encompassing that is the all. It is God and the changing from the now into the next. It is every second in progression. It is you deciding to wiggle your fingers, and then the Spirit makes it happen. You don't actually wiggle your fingers. You just make the decision to do it. It is the same for all of the decisions. It is the same for everything. You don't actually enact the enacting. That is God. That is the Spirit happening. That is the becoming of the next. That is the Trinity, right? The body, the soul, and the Spirit. So yes, we should be building up and renewing our temples. We should be Exercising regularly. I'm not going to tell you what exercise to do. That's up to you to decide what is best for you, for your temple. You should be eating wisely. That's not to say that you can't eat any particular thing. Everything was given to you. Go forth, be stewards of the earth. Go forward, subdue the earth, and be stewards thereof. That was the commandment. Go out and do. You were given meat to eat at that point. If you have the ability to eat plants and food, all of them. Some people take exception to meat. Fine, you do you. But that doesn't make it unholy. It is the incorporation of the previous into the new, and it is part of the cycle of life. You should be making wise decisions for the temple. You should be making wise decisions for your soul. Being out of alignment with God is not beneficial for your soul. It's not necessarily detrimental unless you are particularly enthusiastic about it, right? Apathy doesn't degrade as bad as active acts. But if you are not in alignment with what you know to be true, then you are acting out of accordance with your own soul. And so you should be endeavoring greatly to benefit your body and your soul. And the spirit, you really don't have a whole lot of influence on. It is going to be there whether you were aware of it or not. You're still going to breathe. Your heart's still going to pump. You still wiggle your fingers. You still change food into fuel. But you can take a small measure of control of that. And that is, again, something you should be trying to do. You should be learning how to pull energy through your stack to the various places that need attention. That is something that you should be doing. That is the rebuilding of the temple. Religion sees that temple a little bit different. That Holy of Holies is a physical place that you go to, and it is excluded from you. There is a veil over the Holy of Holies, according to the religions that are being referenced directly here. So, the Holy of Holies is your soul. It is inside of your temple. It is the part that you can't touch. Right? That is the part that makes the decisions. That is the Holy of Holies. You should be building this temple, and this temple should be in service to mankind through acts. It is something that should be happening. It doesn't necessarily have to happen. There's not that requirement for salvation, right? The thing that is required for you to be saved is for you to turn your face to God, like entirely and completely. Without the control systems even being in play, you can go to God and receive forgiveness for the things that you have done wrong. That is things that you know are wrong, right? And when you do turn your God life to Creator, Source, God, whatever you want to call, when you do turn in that way, then you know in your heart what is correct. It is written on your heart. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't adult. These things are written, and it is exceedingly difficult to violate that. Once you have turned your face, you hear that voice, you know in your soul that it is wrong. So, yes and no, right? You should be rebuilding the temple. You should be sanctifying the temple. You should be not necessarily worshiping, but directly devoted to the care thereof. But that temple is not an external thing. You can invest your energy into a building. Having a gathering place of like-minded people is not a bad thing. Iron sharpens iron. Man sharpens man. If there is someone, you will have something to learn from them. Even if they are someone that you consider unintelligent or uninformed, right? Even if you don't think that they are logically consistent, even if you don't believe the things that they say, you are learning something from them. Identifying what you are learning is part of the temple, right? It is part of perfecting your temple. Learning things from other people is part of the process. It is part of why you are here. And so, yes, absolutely, be devoted to the temple. Just make sure that it is not necessarily the external temple. Having the gathering place is a good thing. Don't worship it. Right? But religion and the mysteries would be useless phenomena if divinity had not also accorded means to attain these great ends. But these means are only in the innermost of the sanctuary. The mysteries are required to build a temple to religion, and religion is required to unite man with God. That is untrue. Religion is an external force. It is the various denominations. It is setting forth a pattern by which to worship. There isn't one, right? There are some bare minimums, right? You have to intentionally devote yourself to the service of. You have to subject yourself to the will of God. You have to not atonement, because atonement implies that there is something external that you can do that will make up for the things that you have done, and that is not true. There is nothing you can do to take back a lie. There is nothing you can do to take back theft. That breach of trust will always be there. It will never go away. Even if there is forgiveness and moving on, it is still going to be in the mind of the person. So there is no act that you can do, but you can make the personal commitment to never do it again. You can turn your face to God and ask for forgiveness, and you receive that forgiveness external of any act that you do. But part of that turning should be you changing your direction to face in the way that God is, right? To face in the area of correction. Yes, you told a lie. Yes, you were sorry for it. Yes, you got forgiveness for it. Don't do it again. Right? Turn your face to God. March in the direction that He is pointing you in. And it is never going to be lying, ever. It is not going to be attacking someone outside of defense, because there are times when attacking is defense. But if you are not in defense of something, physical violence is off limits. You don't get to hit somebody because they said a word. You don't get to spout venom at somebody because they said a word. And I know I have trouble with that, right? Y'all know I'm not shy about me and this neighbor. We got problems. He has boundary issues. He does not understand where property lines are. And it's not just me. He has problems with the other side. The other side, the neighbors on the other side of him, they are a little bit differently melanated. And so he has called them several words, right? You know what words I'm talking about. I can't tell you the word, but you know what I'm talking about. You don't get to put a hand on him. He gets to be ignorant. That's a hard one, right? I want to rectify the situation. That's what I want to do. And that ain't even my situation. When he did that out loud in the middle of the day, screaming it because he encroached upon their property and they got upset about it, so he called them these words. Like, I wanted to get involved in that, but I can't. I am restricted from that. Now, if he puts his hands on me, I get to defend me. If he puts his hands on them, I get to defend them. But if it's just a word, I don't get to. You have to turn your face towards the betterment, right? There's no betterment in random acts of violence. And so the point of this was that the religion is making external the things which should be internal. It is creating the ceremonies by which you are doing the things. And while that can be beneficial, you can use that, right? If you are walking in ignorance and there is a ceremony that allows you to do that, that's fine. But if you are here in this study, you are called for more than that, right? It is not some rote prayer that is going to save you, right? I use an extremely simple one. God, forgive me of my sins. That is about as simple as it can be. But it is still a rote prayer if you are not investing your belief into it. You can say the words, God, forgive me of my sin, and not mean them, and nothing happens. Or you can say, God, please forgive me of my sins. And it is done because you imbued the intention behind it. That is a distinction between the religion and the mysteries. The religion seems to be holding people back from the mysteries, and that is part of why I do what I do. But these means are only in the innermost of the sanctuary. The mysteries are required to build a temple to religion. Right? And I don't believe that you are building a temple to religion. I believe that you are building a temple. Right? We do the best you can for the temple, but that's not religion. And religion is required to unite with God is just patently untrue. Such is the greatness of religion, and such the exalted dignity of the mysteries from all time. It would be unjust to you, beloved brothers, that we should think that you have never regarded the holy mysteries in this real aspect, the one which shows them as the only means able to preserve in purity and integrity the doctrine of the important truths concerning God, nature, and man. Yeah, okay. I had to make sure I was reading that right, but this doctrine was couched in wholly symbolic language, and the truth which it contained, having been gradually translated among the outer circle into the ordinary languages of man, became in consequence more obscure and unintelligible. The mysteries, as you know, beloved brothers, promise things which are and which will remain always the heritage of but a small number of men. And that is because only a small number of men are dedicated enough to do it. It is not an intrinsic thing that only a few people can do it. But most people seem to be not on that path. You most likely are on that path. If you are watching me read these books, then you're probably searching, right? You are one of the ones. You are one of the small number of men. But that does not mean that it is exclusively mine or exclusively yours. It is of God, and therefore the heritage of everyone. But you don't have to claim it, right? There are people who every day let property that they did not want to claim through their inheritance go for taxes or be sold to whoever. They don't claim that heritage. You can. There is a process involved, but it is not a ceremony, right? It is intrinsic to you. There are steps that you will have to take. Asking for forgiveness is one of them. Asking to be aligned is another one. Prayer, fasting, and meditation, those are steps that are necessary. But your form of prayer and my form of prayer do not have to coincide completely in order for us to achieve the same ends. We don't have to follow the same procedures. I am giving you how I have achieved this. It is through the MBTI system. That was my first step to really stepping into this. Learning how my mind worked, right? And then extrapolating from there through divine revelation how other people's minds works. And I'm going to clue you in. It works. It seems like it should be just pseudoscience. It seems like it has been dismissed already. I've rearranged some things, and it works in a logically consistent manner. And I have seen effects in other people, right, outside of myself and with no direction from me other than the instruction in these videos. People have effected change within themselves using just the MBTI parts. Understanding yourself is vitally important. Understanding the way that I do it, the 7 internal and the 1 external chakras and how to pull the energy is intrinsic to it. But you can find a different path. I am sure that there are others. I am here to show you the path that I have already walked. I'm not speculating. I'm not guessing. I'm not ruminating. It is not something that I think. It is something that I know. And so I am trying to relay my knowledge, and it is experiential. It means I have experienced it. You haven't. I can't give you the experience. I can only relay it to you. I can only show you the path that I am on. I can't make you walk it. I don't even want to try. I want to show that there is this path. It is not for everybody. I say all of the time, this channel is open to everyone. Anyone on the internet can come in here and attain any knowledge that I am freely giving to you. But most people won't, so it's not for everybody. I'm not excluding you. You exclude yourself. And can only be acquired by a heart which is attained to wisdom and love. That part is true. Right? Wait, we ain't there yet. The mysteries, as you know, beloved brothers, promise things which are and which will remain always the heritage of but a small number of men. That's where we stopped. These are the mysteries which can neither be bought nor sold publicly, but can only be acquired by a heart which is attained to wisdom and love. That is true, right? I can give you the path, but if you are not searching by heart with wisdom and love, you will not walk it. You can try these things all day long, and there will be repercussions for you doing them wrong if you are not properly aligned, but You will not achieve the full measure of what you are meant to do without wisdom and love being core and center. It will not happen. He in whom this holy flame has been awakened lives in true happiness, content with everything and in everything free. He sees the cause of human corruption and knows that it is inevitable. He hates no criminal, he pities him, and seeks to raise him who has fallen, and to restore the wanderer. Because he feels, notwithstanding all the corruption, in the whole there is no taint. Yeah, right. Content in everything and everything free is a battle, right? Remaining content, like I try. I'm not going to lie and say that I am always content, right? There are things that are troublesome. I see things out in the world all the time. Control systems are very real. Human corruption is not necessarily inevitable, but it is something that it happens regularly, right? You can bypass it. It is exceedingly difficult to do so, and I do not claim to have done so, right? I have definitely known human corruption in myself. I am attempting to overcome it, but it is definitely something that was there. I don't hate any criminals. I do pity them because I believe that they are operating off of unfull knowledge, right? Like incomplete knowledge. That's a better way of putting it. I don't believe that if you were properly instructed that you would do the things, right? And that is from somebody who was very much a criminal, right? It was through ignorance, thinking that that was the way to do things. And so I do pity, right? I do have that in my heart. And it's not a condemnation pity, but a you don't know pity. That is why I want to start the school, right? That is literally part of what the goal of this channel is to start a school to help criminals, right? People who are in prison, about to get out and want to change their life. They don't want to fall back into where they've been. Call it a halfway house, right? That is the concept. But it is not just restricted to criminals. I also want to do that for the homeless and anybody really who wants to commit themselves and learn the path. Right, the criminals and the homeless, they need the help, and so I am there more for them than some of the others, but it is open to anyone. I do not plan on doing an exclusive school for criminals or an exclusive school for the homeless. Everybody will be able to freely study. That is part of the goal of what I want to do because I want to impart this knowledge to more people. It will be directly related to what I do here. Right? It will be focused on prayer, meditation, and fasting. That will be an intrinsic part of it. It will be exercising and making sure the temple works correctly. That will be an intrinsic part of it. So I do understand this. He sees with a clear eye the underlying truth and the foundation of all religion. He knows the sources of superstition and of incredulity, religion, as being caused by modifications of truth which have not attained perfect equilibrium. And that's pretty close to true right there, right? Even in the control systems is a misunderstanding more than anything, right? I don't attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. Although sometimes you should attribute to malice things which cannot be explained by incompetence. The modifications of truth, in my opinion, have been intentional. They have been deliberately placed to keep you from learning things. That is why we do this. And so, to me, the sources of superstition and incredulity are contained in that book. Right? They are contained in the other books too, but that book in particular seems to be geared towards holding you back. It's one of those things. We are assured, my esteemed brothers, that you consider the true mystic from this aspect, and that you will not attribute to his royal art that which the misdirected energy of some isolated individuals have made of this art. It is, therefore, with these views, which accord exactly with ours, that you will compare religion and the mysteries of the holy schools of wisdom to loving sisters who have watched over the good of mankind since the necessity of their birth. I can believe that, right? We've talked before about how I do believe that the control systems are necessary for some people. I believe that when Moses, in the best possible light attributing to him, created the religion of Judaism, that he did so to raise them up from the surrounding peoples. Right? I've said that all the way through the Bible study. We say that all the time here. I also believe that Christianity was well-intentioned. I don't believe that it was right, but I do believe that it was well-intentioned, that it was attempting to raise up another group of people from the surroundings into a better understanding. So I do not see that it is bad, right? The bad comes from the mindless doing of the things that are said, the investing of your energy into these entities without the understanding of the entities. Now, part of that is intentional, but part of that is helping, not necessarily as well as I would like to see it, right? I would love to see everybody come to the knowledge that God loves them regardless, right? Regardless of the things, He wants the best for you. And that is why I do this. It is why I'm attempting to break apart these control systems, right? To pick apart the things that they are misrepresenting inside of their own self. Religion divides itself into exterior and interior religion. Exterior signifying ceremony, and interior worship in spirit and in truth. The outer schools possessing the letter and the symbol, the inner ones the spirit and the meaning. But the outer schools were united to the inner ones by ceremonies, as also the outer schools of the mysteries were linked with the inner one by means of symbol. Thus, religion can never be merely ceremony, but hidden and holy mysteries penetrate through symbol into the outer worship to prepare men properly for the worship of God in spirit and in truth. Very soon the night of symbol will disappear. The light will bring forth the day, and the mysteries no longer veiled will show themselves in the splendor of full truth. That is what I am attempting to do, right? And it is, like, it sounds prideful, I know, but it is not something I willingly picked up. It is something that has been given to me to do. I want to unveil the truth. God is, and God loves you. God wants you to have the best. He is not here to punish you, right? You bring punishment upon yourself through your actions. The vestibule of nature, the temple of reason, and the sanctuary of revelation will form but one temple. Thus, the great edifice will be completed, the edifice which consists in the reunion of man, nature, and God. A perfect knowledge of man, of nature, and of God will be the lights which will enable the leaders of humanity to bring back from every side their wandering brothers, those who are led by the prejudices of reason, by the turbulence of passions, to the ways of peace and knowledge. We are approaching the period of light and the reign of wisdom and love, that of God who is the source of light. Brothers of light, there is but one religion, whose simple truth spreads in all religions like branches, returning through multiplicity into the unity of the tree. I believe that more than he does. Sons of truth, there is but one order, but one brotherhood, but one association of men thinking alike in the one object of acquiring the light. From this center, misunderstanding has caused innumerable orders, but all will return from the multiplicity of opinions to the only truth and to the only order, the association of those who were able to receive the light, the community of the elect. With this measure, all religions and all orders of man must be measured. Multiplicity is in the ceremony of the exterior, truth only in the interior. The trend of these brotherhoods is in the variety of explanation of the symbols caused by the lapse of time, needs of the day, and other circumstances. The true community of light can be only one. And again, that is something that I believe more than he does. He is putting an intermediary in. He has already done that through the other letters. Not so much in this one, right? We haven't had that insertion as much here. And maybe as we get farther along, he will distance himself more from that particular control system. But The absence of the control systems is what I am aiming for. It is a direct relationship with God with no intermediary in the middle. It is you going directly to Source, the true community of light. And there can only be one of those, right? You can make your arguments about doctrine. Is it okay to dance? Is it not okay to dance? Is it okay to drink? Is it not okay to drink? You can make them arguments. You can argue between Baptist and Methodist and Catholic and Presbyterian. You can make those arguments. That is not the one. The one is the worship of God alone. That is the one. In all things, I believe, will return to that. The exterior symbol is only the sheath which holds the inner. It may change and multiply, but it can never weaken the truth of the interior. Moreover, it was necessary. We ought to seek it and to try to decipher it to discover the meaning of the spiritual interior. That's what I am attempting to do. All errors, divisions, all misunderstandings in religion and in secret societies only concern the letter. What rests behind it remains always pure and holy. Soon, the time for those who seek the light will be accomplished, for the day comes when the old will be united to the new, the outer to the inner, the high with the low, the heart with the brain, man with God. And this epoch is destined for the present age. Do not ask, beloved brothers, why the present age? Everything has its time for beings, subject to time and space. It is in such wise, according to the unvarying law of the wisdom of God, who has coordinated all in harmony and perfection. I have a saying that I love. I think I came up with it. I don't remember hearing it anywhere, but God is the coordinator of coincidence, the coordinator of coincidence. And that pronunciation difference, coincidence and coincidence, can make a big difference. The elect should first labor to acquire both wisdom and love in order to earn the gift of power, which unchangeable divinity gives only to those who know and those who love. That's not entirely true. You can use the gift of power whether or not you are motivated by knowledge or love. There are people that do it all of the time, and once again, Diddy is a good example. Epstein is a good example. Some of the people running for power may be good examples. I do believe that there are people who work knowing, right? They have the knowledge part, but they are devoid of the love part. It is entirely possible to do any of the things that I talk about misaligned. It is one of the dangers of doing what I am doing. It is why we have the Infinite Integration playlist. It is why I point you back to the 8 laws of creation so often, because there can be repercussions for teaching the wrong people. I am operating in faith that even though the wrong people may find this knowledge, they may use this knowledge in incorrect ways, it is not my responsibility because God has called me to it, right, straight off the top, but He has given me the out of the 8 laws of creation. I direct you to the 8 laws of creation. I told you 3 times because it is important. That is how it works. Whether or not you believe in the energy, those things are still true. Whether or not you believe in God, those things are still true. And so those things govern how it works. If you are doing the energy investment work, which is what we talk about here, investing your energy in healing, investing your energy in manifestation, if you are doing that and you are misaligned, you will get the repercussions. It is on me to ensure that you understand that there are consequences. That is why we point out the videos. But because I have shown you what the consequences are, I'm exempted from you unintentionally or even intentionally misusing the things that I am revealing. Like, these things used to be in a master apprentice type of work, right? It was only passed on from mouth to ear, not through the internet, not through books, but rather from a master to an apprentice, so that they could be sure that you would use the things in the correct manner. And if you were not ready, you were not revealed to. I don't have that luxury, right? I have not been called for that. Maybe someday it will happen that we will be having workshops and classes. It's probably going to be in the line. But I want to give it away freely, right? That's what we're doing here. If there are classes, there will be charges for that, and that is something that is different. But it will be the exact same stuff here. You will just be able to ask questions and interact and push against where people are receiving. So it doesn't go just to people who know and love. You can know without the love and be able to do these things. You get the gift of power. That doesn't mean you're going to use it correctly, and it does not in any way mean that you will be exempted from the consequences of your action. Those are real, and they will happen regardless of whether you believe in them or not. Morning follows night, and the sun rises, and all moves on to full midday, where all shadows disappear in his vertical splendor. Thus, the letter of truth must exist. Then comes the practical explanation. Then, the truth itself. Only truth can comprehend truth. Then alone can the Spirit of truth appear, which sets the seals, closing the light. He who now can receive the truth will understand. It is to you, much beloved brothers, you who labor to reach truth, you who have so faithfully preserved the glyph of the holy mysteries in your temple, it is to you that the first ray of truth will be directed. This ray will pierce through the cloud of mystery, and it will announce the full day and the treasure which it brings. Do not ask who those are who write to you. Look at the spirit, not the letter, the thing, not at persons. Neither pride nor self-seeking, neither does any unworthy motive exist in our retreats. We know the object and the destination of man, and the light which lights us works in all our actions. Yes. We are especially called to write to you, dear brothers of light, and that which gives power to our commission is the truth which we possess, and which we pass on to you on the least sign, and according to the measure of the capacity of each. I am here especially for you, dear reader, right? Dear brother of light, dear person seeking the true knowledge. I am here for you. I am not here for the ones who would misuse it. They are free to take part, but they will receive their own actions. I am here for the ones who are searching. I am not here for everyone. I am not even trying to reach everyone. I would love it, but I don't believe it's even possible. Some people's lessons just will not accommodate the truth. That is the truth. And so I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm not here to beat anybody over the head with doctrine. I am not here to separate you in any way from you directly finding God. But I am here to reveal. Reveal. I am here to uncover. I am here to shatter the veil. I am here to give you the tools to shatter your own veil. I am here for you, brothers of light. Light is apt for communication, where there is reception and capacity, but it constrains no one and waits its reception tranquilly. Our desire, our aim, our office is to revivify the dead letter and to spiritualize the symbols, turn the passive into the active, death into life. But this we cannot do by ourselves, but through the Spirit of light of Him, who is wisdom and the light of the world. Yes, God. Right? Our office is to revivify the dead letter. Everybody's out there following the letter, but they don't even know the Spirit, right? They said that in here, but it is the truth. You are out there doing rituals with no understanding of them. And I'm not talking directly to you. You are here seeking knowledge. But the others, the ones who go to church every Sunday, right? They're in the church 3 times a week. I'm there on Sunday morning. I'm there Sunday afternoon. I'm there on Wednesday. I go to all the brotherhood meetings. I do all the community stuff. But you're not actually doing the things that you were called to do, right? You go back to work and you lie to your customer, or you cheat them in any way whatsoever. Or here's one for you. You go to work, and instead of doing your job, you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and you're not doing the thing that you are being paid to do, but you go to church and say that you're saved, you're a liar. Until the present time, The inner sanctuary has been separated from the temple by religion, and the temple beset with those who belong only to the precincts. But the time is coming when the innermost will be reunited with the temple, in order that those who are in the temple can influence those who are in the outer courts, so that the outer pass in. You hear that baby back there whining? She's dreaming. In our sanctuary, all the hidden mysteries are preserved intact. They have never been profaned. This sanctuary is invisible, as a force which is only known through its action. That is what I am revealing here, right? I believe that this letter is directed at me, right? Not necessarily me in general, but like what I am doing, this is my mission, right? This is the letter for me. Those letters were for y'all, the ones still in the control system. This letter's to me, right? I believe that I am in the time where these things are being revealed. Call it the falling away if you wish. By this short description, my dear brothers, you can tell who we are, and it will be superfluous to assure you that we do not belong to those restless natures who seek to build in this common life an ideal after their own fantastic imaginations. Neither do we belong to those who wish to play a great part in the world and who promise miracles that they themselves do not understand. Yes and no, right? I am here trying to do a great work. That is a real thing. I am trying to play a great part in the world. I am doing that. I am promising miracles, but I do understand them, right? There are things that are possible. I have affected change in my life. We've talked about my throat several times. Let's talk about a different one. This one I do have some leave to tell you about. Back in the early 2000s, I injured my shoulder. This one right here. I had to have laparoscopic surgery. They went in, they rerouted one of the tendons. They removed a whole lot of free-floating cartilage and stuff, and they shaved my clavicle, and they repositioned the way the my arm worked. And because of that, I got about 60% function back in my arm. I could get about this high, I can move it forward and back, but I don't have the same strength in my right arm that I do in my left. But fortunately for me, I'm a left-handed fella. Here, recently, you can go back into my videos, and I talked in one of them about how I was having some trouble with this particular shoulder. It is healed. I believe that that is part of this process. What do you mean it's healed, Pid? This happened, well, getting pretty close to 20 years ago. And I had 2 surgeries on this shoulder, and I got about 60%. Well, guess what? I've got full range of motion these days. I've got my strength back. I believe what happened was that the tendon was reset. And for a couple of weeks, I had the same problem that caused me to go and have surgery. My shoulder didn't sit well in my socket. It would pop out and pop in, and it was pretty painful. I couldn't lift my arm a couple of months ago. You can go back and watch the videos. I was having trouble reaching out and touching this mouse that far away, right? It is just that much. It hurt. I couldn't drive. I couldn't move the gear shift. I have it all back. I have 100% range of motion. I have my strength back. I believe that that rerouting of the tendon is gone. And that my shoulder has been reset to original operating capacity. That is something that is trackable, right? I haven't been back to the doctor to see if the tendon moved, but it sure felt like it. And it was quite painful for a couple of weeks. It was not an automatic healing, which is the point that I'm getting to. It took a couple of weeks to get it back right. It took a lot of pain to go through to get it back right. And it was not me doing it, right? I did the work, right? I did the internal work. I did the manipulation of the electromagnetic forces, and I set them into my heart to heal this whole area. And the heart governs your shoulders and your chest and your lungs. I put the light there. I let it work, and it did. It was not an easy process. It was not a immediate process. It's the same with this thing in my throat. It worked for months, setting the light there and letting it do what it needed to do, not forcing it. And it removed the cyst from my throat. It has allowed me to get my voice back. That is the Holy Spirit. That is not me, right? I direct it. I have a small measure of control of these forces. I directed healing within myself. This one I can tell you about. It's not got anything to do with other things in my life. Other things are happening. The fulfillment of the healing has not happened yet, but it is beginning. There are painful processes involved, and it does take time. But if you don't know, I have several problems. I have 7 bulges, 6 herniations, 3 spinal impingements, spinal meningitis, spinal stenosis, and degenerative disc disorder. I think meningitis. Maybe not meningitis. Maybe I'm doing... Anyways, there's another one in there. It's something to do with the spine, right? I have... What's it called? The narrowing. Stenosis is the narrowing. Scoliosis is the curving. And I have both of those. I think that's where I was going with that. Anyway, it affects the way I walk, the way I move, the way things that happen. You can go back. The very first video in the playlist of the Infinite Integrations is the power of perspective and intention, where I describe for you how I changed my perception, moved my perspective, and was able to remove the limp from myself and allow myself to be able to walk in the way that I do, right? I do my prayer walk. When I first started that, it was almost impossible. It took me 45 minutes to walk 1 mile, right? And that was a very painful, very intensive process. Through the shifting of my perspective, I was able to move faster, and now I can do it a lot faster. Can't get into all of that because it would affect other things, and God obviously is not ready for those things to be affected yet, but that's coming too. The replacement of the current with the new, that's on the way, and then I get to give you the fullness of what God has been working in my life, and I cannot wait. I am so anxious to tell you of the things which I have healed. It is rather amazing, and it is along the same lines as this, right? Healing is not immediate. It can be. I'm not putting that limit on it. But for me, it hasn't been. It has been a process, and it has been a process outside of my direct control. I can bring the light. I can set the light. And by doing that, I am in control. But it is the Spirit working external from me. I am moving the light, and then the Spirit does what it needs to do. It's fixing things. Very important things in my life. It is confirmation to me that I am on the right path, right? It is possible to receive blessings from the wrong source. Blessings can be monetary, they can be physical, they can be spiritual. But generally speaking, if it is wrong source, there are eddies in the effects, right? You get this thing which you thought you wanted, and it turns out to have a consequence attached to it that is not necessarily good. We did the monkey's paw story, and that was talking about the unintended consequences. Oh, I want my daughter back, or my son back. Well, he was dead, and now you've got a zombie knocking at the door. That is being blessed by the wrong things. When you are being blessed in the right way, then you receive the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is peace, love, contentment, happiness, right? It is growth. It is acceptance. It is understanding. It is never hate. It is never mean. It is never any of those things that are associated with the darker side. Because of the blessings coming along with the healing, I feel like it's the right path. That is why I am so adamant in expressing to you that I have walked the path. It's not something even that is subjective. This is gone. This is healed. I can't give you the experience of that having happened. I can only relay it to you. I have to build layers of trust for you to understand that. But hopefully I have. Hopefully you've been here long enough to understand that I'm really not doing this for me, right? I am an I. I do everything for me first. I experience it and then I give it away. It's what I do as an INFJ, a fully empowered INFJ, understanding how my stack works. I can use that. I am a fully empowered spiritual being. I understand how it works. Maybe not to the fullness. Maybe I can't express it in the proper manners. That's why we do these studies, so that I can relate to you, building upon something that we can talk about. it's exceedingly difficult for me to stay on track in explaining these things. I get excited and pulled off in various directions. So this gives me the structure to relay to you the different things that I have experienced. I cannot convince you, so I don't try. I am here to tell you. I'm not here to convince you. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to watch these videos. You are free to leave at any point in time. I am motivated by love. 100%. It may not come off that way because of my presentation sometimes, and that's something that I do apologize for, right? I don't apologize for stepping on your toes, right? If I step on your toes, it's what it is. I am relaying truth, but I really do try not to. I do. I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but sometimes it is a necessity. I try to couch all of this in love. I try to express to you God loves you, and that is the fundamental part of it. And I'm hammering that in part because I learned from my crew, right? If you send me a comment, I'm going to assimilate that as part of my lesson and my correction. So when I get somebody that's saying maybe you could couch this in a little bit more love, I'm going to say, you know what? I am trying to do that. I really am. I love you enough that I want you to be free from all the control systems except the ones you choose. Right? I am choosing a control system. I believe that this republic is great. Maybe not enacted in the way it was intended, but the intention behind it is a great thing. Individual freedom, beautiful. That is God's intention for you. And I believe that we have a unique experiment here. That this has never existed in recorded history. It may have been here prior to the Eden event. That's a whole different subject. But in our experience, our records, we have never had autonomy in the way that we do now. Even in the Republic of Rome, it was different. Even in Greece, it was different. Even in tribal societies, it was different. What we do here is unique, and I love it. I believe that we can save it. I believe that this election cycle is a big deal for that reason, and I am investing my energy into that. I believe that one candidate who stands for life and individual autonomy is standing directly opposed to one who is for death and slavery. I believe that. There is somebody out there representing communism in a very real way, and communism is slavery. There is somebody representing autonomy and giving the power away. That has been evidenced through his works. The things he did the last time he was in office was giving power back to the states, decentralizing the power from the federal government. That evidence is clear if you care to look at it. So I am investing in a control system. That is the one I am choosing. I am choosing this republic. I am choosing to invest my energy into that side winning and not the other. That is based in love as well, right? I know that the common vernacular believes that that side is not about love, and that is simply not true. It is about truth. It is about correction, but truth and correction are part of love. We do not represent, let's flip it back over, who promise miracles that they themselves do not understand. We do not represent either that class of minds who, resenting the condition of certain things, have no object but the desire of dominating others, and who love adventure and exaggeration. We can also assure you that we belong to no other sect or association than the one true and great one of those who are able to receive the light. That's where I'm at. I am not part of any of the secret clubs, none of them. We are not also of those who think it is their right to mold all after their own model. The arrogance to seek to remodel all other societies. I'm here for the individuals, not necessarily to change I'm here to expose the control systems as control systems, but you are still free to operate within the control systems. I'm not trying to break anybody free that doesn't want to be free. We assure you faithfully that we know exactly the innermost of religion and of the holy mysteries, and that we possess with absolute certainty all that has been surmised to be in the addendum, I don't know that word, and that this said possession gives us the strength to justify our commission, and to impart to the dead letter and hieroglyphic everywhere, both spirit and life. That is the goal. The treasures in our sanctuary are many. We understand the spirit and meaning of all symbols and all ceremony which have existed since the day of creation to the present time. I don't know, your other letters seem to imply otherwise. As well as the most interior truths of all the holy books, with the laws and customs of primitive people. We possess a light, by which we are anointed and by means of which we read the hidden and secret things of nature. That I agree with. Right? I possess a light. I do. Right? We talked about it in the Golden Flower. We will talk about it several other times, but there is a light. It is like a literal thing. You can sit in a dark room and the light will appear if you are correctly aligned. And it will reveal hidden and secret things of nature. It does that. I don't do that. They do that. We possess a fire which feeds us and which gives us the strength to act upon everything in nature. We possess a key to open the gate of mystery and a key to shut nature's laboratory. Those are not exclusive to each other. You can open the gate of mystery and open nature's laboratory. They are not exclusive. We know of the existence of a bond which will unite us to the upper worlds and reveal to us their sights and their sounds. That is another truth. All the marvels of nature are subordinate to our will by its being united with divinity. That is true. We have mastered the science which draws directly from nature, whence there is no error, but truth and light only. In our school, we are instructed in all things because our master is the light itself and its essence. The plenitude of our scholarship is the knowledge of this tie between the divine and spiritual worlds, and of the spiritual world with the elementary, and of the elementary world with the material world. By these knowledges, we are in condition to coordinate the spirits of nature and the hearts of man. Our science is the inheritance promised to the elect. Otherwise, those who are duly prepared for receiving the light and the practice of our science is in the completion of the divine union with the child of man. We could often tell you, beloved brothers, of marvels relating to the hidden things in the treasury of the sanctuary which would amaze and astonish you. We could speak to you about ideas concerning which the profundest philosophy is as removed as the earth from the sun, but to which we are near, being one with the light of the innermost. But our object is not to excite your curiosity, but to raise your desires to seek the light at its source, where your search for wisdom will be rewarded and your longing for love satisfied. For wisdom and love dwell in our retreats. The stimulus of their reality and of their truth is our magical power. We assure you that our treasures, though of infinite value, are concealed in so simple a manner that they entirely baffle the researches of opinionated science. And also through though these treasures would bring to carnal minds both madness and sorrow, nevertheless they are, and they ever remain to us the treasures of the highest wisdom. My best blessing upon you, O my brothers, if you understand these great truths, the recovery of the triple word and of its power will be your reward. He ain't wrong. Your happiness will be in having the strength to help to reunite man and with nature and with God, which is the real work of every workman who has not rejected the cornerstone. To me, the cornerstone is God. I know it is different for other people. Now, we have fulfilled our trust, and we have announced the approach of full day, and the joining of the inner sanctuary with the temple. We leave the rest to your own free will. We know well, to our bitter grief, that even as the Savior was not understood in his personality, but was ridiculed and condemned in his humility, likewise also his spirit, which will appear in glory, will also be rejected and despised by many. Nevertheless, the coming of his Spirit should be announced in the temples, in order that these words should be fulfilled. I have knocked at your doors, and you have not opened them to me. I have called, and you have not listened to my voice. I have invited you to the wedding, but you were busy with other things. May peace and the light of Spirit be with you. And that is going to conclude letter 3. we will be picking up at letter 4 next, but hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a series of somewhat difficult topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs and that I have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those beliefs. It is not intentional, but I do not apologize for it. I try to couch it in love, but correction is necessary, discipline is necessary, understanding is necessary. And those are all motivated by love from me. I say the things I say in the manner in which I say them because that is how I was designed, right? I am a direct person. Me, like when I began this, it was me working on my informative. I was very much, this is it, right? And that wasn't in the T control F movement type of thing, but I have decided that this thing is according to my logic, and so I was unmovable. And I would just relay that in as few words as possible. I have become a lot more informative. So I try to attack it from different angles. But I am still a very direct person. You won't hear me extrapolating over and over and over and over and over. You won't see me chasing the rabbit holes, right? They may show up every once in a while, especially since I am working on my informative. But what I relay is intended to be with kindness. It doesn't come off that way, but there is nothing kind about lying to somebody. There is nothing kind about hiding the truth in something that is a little bit more palatable, right? You can put the bitter pill inside of some sugar, but there's still a bitter pill there. I would prefer that you understood that the pill's a little bit bitter, but that you still need to take it, right? The effects are not as immediate as I would like. I would love it if I could just lay my hands upon myself and heal the things that are wrong with me. That's not the way it works, at least in my experience. Now, the things that have happened are not related at all to the physical understandings. There is no medications involved, although the lump may have come from one, and we have discussed that. The removal of it was through the direct intervention of God. The healing of this shoulder, like I cannot tell you, it has been 20 years since I could raise my arm that high. It was just not something I could do. I was stuck down here. I could not get that. It was not a thing. No matter how hard I pushed, it was not possible. I couldn't do this. That wasn't a thing. Being able to move my arm all the way this way, and all the way that way, that was not a thing 4 months ago. It was not something I could do 4 months ago. It's a little bit beyond credulity to understand that. For 20 years, this thing was impossible, and now it is not. That is hard to relay. That is a hard thing to believe, right? You hear me say this, and you're like, is that real? I can't convince you it's real. I don't try. I'm here to tell you. It is a process. It is not immediate, but the understanding comes immediately. When you begin doing these things, you begin getting the understanding. When you are aligning your inner sanctuary, as he calls it, with the temple, it makes a difference. When you spend the time in prayer, fasting, and meditation, and you start moving these energies intentionally and with understanding and knowing what you're doing, it makes a difference. That understanding becomes a part of you, and it is hard to separate that. It is impossible for me to pray in the name of Jesus Christ. I can't do it. Like, it literally won't come out of my mouth. Even reading these things is hard for me sometimes. When it is stating unequivocally that Jesus is the way, that is hard for me to say because I know better. It is like trying to go back and say that the earth is flat when I know that it is round, when I know that we are a globe, when I know. And like, it is both through physical understanding, because I have been in places where I have seen the curvature of the earth, right? I know that because of that, but I also know because of the direct revelatory experience that I have had where I saw the creation of the universe. And neither one of those things can I give you. I can't give you my understanding that the earth is round because I have seen the curvature of the earth. I can tell you about it, but I cannot convince you Somebody out there will still say that it's a dome over a flat earth, despite the fact that everything else in creation forms in a circle, but whatever, or a sphere. Every other celestial object everywhere is a sphere, but it is impossible because this one thing says firmament. That is so wild to me. And it is hard for me to accept that. I understand it, right? Operating from a level of unknowledge is a thing. Not knowing is a thing. But for me, I know. And because I know, I relay it in a way that can be overbearing. I understand that. That's why I say that I step on toes. That's why I warn you. But part of the delivery is turning away the ones who are not worthy. There are people who are not worthy, not because they are not worthy in and of themselves, but because they are not accepting of what is necessary. You prove your worth not by listening to me. You prove your worth through your prayer, fasting, and meditation. You prove your worth through the honest, earnest searching for the truth, wherever it may lie. That can come through me. Hopefully I am relaying accurate information. But I tell you all of the time, as much as I tell you the other things, don't take my word at it. Go back to the original text. I always provide the link to the original text so that you can go back and understand. I tell you in the places where I got to my conclusions, right? The things I say about Genesis came from studying Genesis. The things I say about Exodus came from studying Exodus. The things I say about prophecy came from studying prophecy. And you can do that with me. You can do that opposite of me. You can go by yourself to the referenced material and get it. It is not from me. It is through me by which I do this. And my delivery is part of that. I'm never intentionally trying to step on a toe, but I do try to acknowledge when it happens so that you understand, yes, I know that is going to step on your toes. It's not intentional, but I do not apologize for telling the truth. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And if you have more resources along this nature that I can explore and help to elucidate some knowledge, leave that down below as well. And if you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks, because I do not manifest money. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.